He followed the spiral for 20 minutes before he realized it wasn't drawn into the soil. Dale Mercer had farmed the same 200 acres in Shelby County his entire life. He knew every drainage ditch, every stubborn patch of clay, every spot where the soil turned dark and rich after a good rain. He knew this land the way a man knows his own face in the mirror. Every flaw, every line, every place where time had started to show. So when he stepped off his back porch at 5:42 in the morning and saw what had happened to his east field overnight, his first feeling wasn't fear. It was offense. The corn wasn't damaged. That was the first strange thing. Whatever had moved through the field had bent each stalk with surgical precision, pressing them flat in a single direction, and the pattern they made wasn't random. From the ground, standing at the field's edge, Dale could only see the nearest curve, a sweeping arc, maybe 60 feet wide, running north to south. He walked the fence line to get a better angle, and from a small rise near the irrigation pump, the shape revealed itself. A spiral. Perfect. Mathematically perfect. The kind of thing you'd see in a textbook, starting wide at the field's outer edge and tightening inward, turn by turn, toward a single point somewhere near the center of the east section. He stood there long enough for the sky to go from gray to pale orange. He could hear his dog, Bruiser, barking from inside the house. He hadn't let the dog out yet that morning, which struck him as odd only later. Usually, Bruiser scratched at the door the moment Dale's boots hit the porch steps. This morning, the dog had stayed back, whining at the kitchen window instead. Dale called his neighbor Ron first, then his son-in-law Marcus, then the county extension office, getting voicemail at all three. He photographed the field from every angle his phone would allow. Then, because he was a practical man who didn't believe in standing at the edge of a problem when you could walk straight into it, he entered the spiral at its outermost point and began to follow it inward. The flattened stalks made a clear path. Whoever, or whatever, had designed this, had designed it to be walked. The thought should have stopped him. It didn't. It took 11 minutes of slow, careful walking before he noticed that his footprints in the soft soil were not the only ones on the path. Something had already walked this exact route before him. The impressions were shallow, almost imperceptible, but evenly spaced. Not boots, not hooves, just smooth, oval depressions, roughly the size of a dinner plate, pressed exactly 2 inches into the earth at each step. He kept walking. The center of the spiral was a circle of bare earth, roughly 15 feet in diameter, where nothing grew at all. No corn, no weeds, no grass, just flat, dark soil that looked freshly turned, the way a garden bed looks the morning after you've worked it. Dale stepped into the circle and felt the temperature drop immediately. Not a breeze, not shade, just cold, radiating upward from the ground itself, the kind of deep cold that lives below the frost line and doesn't belong at the surface in August. He saw the hole before he understood what he was looking at. It was positioned exactly at the center of the circle, maybe 18 inches across, perfectly round, with smooth walls that caught the early morning light in a way that made them look almost glazed, like fired clay or polished bone. Dale crouched down. He pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight and aimed it into the hole. The beam went down 4, maybe 5 feet before it found the bottom, and at the bottom, something looked back up at him. He scrambled backwards so fast he lost a boot in the soil. He sat there in the dirt, heart jackhammering, staring at the hole from 8 feet away. His phone was still on, flashlight still pointed into the opening, the beam cutting a column of pale light down into the dark. He waited. Nothing came out. He told himself it was a reflection. He told himself he'd seen his own face staring back at him, distorted by the angle, some trick of the light and his own tired, frightened brain. He was 58 years old and had been awake since 4 in the morning, and there was a rational explanation for all of it. He crawled back to the edge and looked in again. The eyes. Because they were eyes, he was no longer able to convince himself otherwise, were approximately 6 inches apart, reflective in the way an animal's eyes are reflective, but the wrong color. Not green, not amber, a pale, milky white, the color of cataracts, utterly without pupil or iris. They didn't move. They didn't blink. They were simply aimed upward, fixed on his face with an attention so complete and so still that Dale's body understood something his mind was still refusing. This thing had been waiting for him specifically, not for whoever happened to find the spiral. For him, it knew his face. He could feel that it knew his face, the way you feel watched from across a crowded room, that prickling certainty that arrives before your eyes can confirm it. His phone buzzed in his hand. A text from Marcus. "Just saw your messages. On my way. Don't go in the field alone." Dale stared at the screen. Then he looked back at the hole. The eyes were gone. Marcus arrived 40 minutes later and found Dale sitting on the tailgate of his truck at the field's edge, still in one boot, saying nothing. He wouldn't go back into the field. He wouldn't explain why. He just sat there with his hands flat on his knees, staring at the spiral from the outside, and the only thing he said for the first 10 minutes was, "It already knows where I sleep." Marcus went in alone. He came back out in under 5 minutes, pale and walking fast, and he didn't say anything either for a long while. When he did speak, he said the hole was gone. The bare circle was still there, still cold. He'd felt it from the edge, but the soil at the center was undisturbed. No hole, no smooth walls, no sign that anything had ever been there. Just flat, dark earth. It was Dale's wife, Carol, who found the mark. She'd come out when Marcus called her, and while the 2 men sat in the driveway not talking, she walked slowly around her husband, the way you circle something you're trying to understand. She found it on the back of his left calf, above the boot line, below the knee, in the exact place his skin had been exposed when he crouched over the hole. A small circle, roughly 3 centimeters across, the edges perfectly smooth and already healed over. The skin there not red or blistered, but a faint, silvery white. The color, Dale thought, when Carol held her phone light to it, of those eyes at the bottom of the hole. He hadn't felt it. That was the thing he kept coming back to. He hadn't felt a thing. The county extension agent came out that afternoon, walked the field, took photographs, and used the words wind vortex and localized atmospheric event with the practiced confidence of a man who needed the world to stay manageable. He didn't crouch at the bare circle. He didn't get close enough to feel the cold. He left a pamphlet about crop insurance on Dale's kitchen counter and drove away before dark. That night, Dale sat at the kitchen table and did not go to bed. He was thinking about the footprints on the spiral path, the smooth oval depressions already there when he arrived, already walked before him. He was thinking about the fact that the spiral had started at the outer edge of his field and tightened inward, not outward, not radiating away from a center point the way an impact would, tightening inward, the way you would draw something toward a center, the way a net tightens. He was thinking about what Carol had said when she found the mark, quietly, almost to herself, the words she probably hadn't meant for him to hear. It looks like a tag. At 2:17 in the morning, his phone lit up on the table. No notification, no ringtone, just the screen coming alive on its own, brightness at maximum, and on the screen was a photograph. His photograph, the one he'd taken of the field that morning from the rise near the irrigation pump. The spiral laid out below him in the bent gold of his own corn, beautiful and precise and deliberate. Except in the photograph he had taken himself standing alone at the field's edge at 6 in the morning, there was a second figure, standing in the spiral, halfway between the outer ring and the center, still looking up. Dale set the phone face down on the table. He put both hands flat on the wood. He breathed. Outside, Bruiser started barking, and then, abruptly, stopped.